This video is not for whales and dolphins, it's for you because you are just like me. Average Duck Gamer here, and today I want to talk about Orphie, but I don't just want to talk about Orphie because there are two fire DPSs up for grabs in the second half of 2.2, and on the new character front, we're going to have Orphie. Now, we've talked about Orphie quite a bit before. If you haven't seen it, I've got an Orphie pre-release guide where we went over some of her kit and some of the information that was available before she released. Now, she has been actually amended slightly, so she's got a couple of small buffs, which are actually good quality of life buffs and improve some of the stuff that she can do. But we also have an on-field fire DPS in Evelyn, Neuron Activation. I don't know, something about the way I just click and then boom. And I think this kind of gives players a really interesting choice, because the choice is, do you want Orphie, who is an off-field fire damage dealer and also buffer for your teams, or do you want a selfish on-field fire damage dealer? And I think it kind of sets up a really interesting decision on principle. However, I also think that pulling for Orphie for most players is probably not the right play. Because if you don't have Sambi and if you don't have Seed, you're probably pulling Orphie for the potential of a future Aftershock agent. Because if we talk about what Orphie does just for a moment, is that she buffs Aftershock for the team. She also buffs the team overall. She's going to provide a up to 700 attack buff. And she's also going to do damage herself from off-field. So for someone who wants someone to do damage from off-field, i.e. Seed, doing the EXs off-field and then occasionally doing EXs on-field, i.e. Seed, that's really good. The Aftershock side of things is also super beneficial for Sambi. And I think for Sambi mains, I think it makes the most sense to pull for Orphie. But outside of that, I don't really see that much value for Orphie. I think that she's kind of niche in a way that I'm not against, because I actually think it's pretty good and healthy for the game for us to get niche supports that make our teams marginally better, but you can take that as you will. So then you come down to the other reason that you might pull Orphie is that you're hoping for some future other Aftershock character, or you want Orphie to run her on-field for yourself. And I'll be honest, I don't think either of those are smart plays. But if Orphie is a waifu pull for you, it's always waifu over meta. Pull for Orphie by all means, but just make sure that you have enough polychromes put aside that you can pull another character who can work with her. Chances are in 2.3, they haven't announced the reruns as of yet, but they have indicated that they're going to be potentially buffing Sambi. And I think what will probably happen with Sambi is that she'll work incredibly well with Orphie. I mean, she already works incredibly well with Orphie, but if she gets slightly better, she's going to work even better with Orphie. But then we come to the other fire DPS. And the other fire DPS is Evelyn. And Evelyn, I think, has a lot more flexibility and a lot more different teams that are going to work really well. I think the main problem that Evelyn has, though, is that she's very reliant on at least one of her two best-in-slot teammates, and that is Astra and Lyta. I think right now, and this comes back to the whole conversation that we've been having around the endgame getting quite chilly and the HP keeps going up, and this kind of brings us back to the point of, right now, could you still clear with Evelyn, Khalida, and Lucy against Pompey? It'll be tough, but you can probably sneak by. Yeah, you can probably sneak by. But I think, like, in terms of getting like a higher score than just scraping by the 20k, you are probably going to want at least one of Astra and or Lyta. And I think if you don't have one of those, or you don't plan in the future to pull one of those, I do think that Evelyn might not be exactly the best character to pull for most players and most accounts. I think chances are, though, if you've been playing the game a little while, you may very well have one of Astra and Lyta, and then I do think that Evelyn becomes quite a good pickup. And I'll get on to talking about reruns in general in just a moment after this reminder that you probably aren't subscribed. Liking and subscribing is a great way to support creators like me on YouTube. You can also drop me a follow over on Twitch, and if you want, you can join the Discord, hang out with some cool chills and listen to Zero Peeps. But this also transitions us into an additional conversation that we need to have about the value of pulling for rerunning characters. Now, Zenless Zone Zero does feel like it's got a very established ceiling in terms of damage output, and that established ceiling of damage output has been Miyabi for a while now. No one seems to be going above Miyabi. But what they've shown that they're willing to do is that they're willing to shill or anti-shill certain characters. Now, I actually think that Evelyn, in her, according to Prewen, T0.5 kind of level, is kind of at a perfect level where they don't need to balance against her in any way. But what I do think is that, like, now that she's rerunning, there is a chance that they initially make her look quite good, i.e. Pompey is on Deadly Assault at the moment, and he is a Fire Weak boss. He has typically been what people want to run Evelyn into as a fire DPS. However, as much as Evelyn might look quite good right now, in a patch or two, she might very well struggle, or as opposed to just being able to just squeak by with Khalida and Lucy, she might very well need a little bit more help, and you might very well need to pull one of her premium teammates. Whereas when you focus on a newer character, i.e. someone like Seed, and this is the danger of pulling characters on reruns, right? Is that if you focus on a newer character, someone like Seed, who is able to just clear the content with Nicole and Billy, and as long as you build them to a reasonable level, that's just free. Anyway, this wasn't meant to be a talk about endgame, but I guess what I wanted to do is I just wanted to break down, hey, look, we got 2 fire DPSs coming. I think Orphie's not a bad pickup, but she is niche. Let's just be totally clear about that. It's if you got Seed or Sambi, or you plan to pull Seed now and then Sambi maybe when she reruns in 2.3, you can wait for the live stream for 2.3. They will confirm the reruns, and then you could pull for Orphie as long as you have enough pulls. You could even take the 50 for Orphie and then make your decision as to what you want to do. I think Evelyn, though, is a little bit trickier because it's tough to say how she will keep up as things continue to shift, as things continue to get a little bit harder, as things continue to get a little bit shillier. I do think that she exists in a perfect little spot where they don't have to balance against her, but I also think that potentially things might get harder for her to clear, and she might need one of her teammates. But yeah, great point, Marco. Yeah, you're right. Nothing does really counter her game plan, and we do keep getting buffs that are beneficial for chain attacks. And normally it's like post-chain attack, there's a small buff applied. And that's really good for a lot of agents with a lot of, that's really good for a lot of agents in stun windows. But it's also super good for Evelyn because it means you can chain outside of stun and then benefit from those buffs. So you're right. As much as nothing's really working against her, but I think that the way that the game is currently set up is actually kind of working for her. I still want to say people should be cautious about pulling a character on a rerun. All in all, I think this might be a bit of a skip patch for a lot of players. I think if you're not sure what you're going to do with either Evelyn or Orphie, I think you might struggle to find the right places for them. So I think most players have probably already made their minds up, is what I'm saying. Those are the 2 characters that are coming in the second half of 2.2. As always, let me know what you think about all of this down below. Remember to like and subscribe for better than average luck on all your pulls. Pull responsibly, say weird. Bye.